thing. I feel weird.
All I'm just saying is for as much as they sit there and pretend that they care about creator health, I'm going through and having to manually scrub all of my comments
Oh
for
my
these
god, Telegram.
Telegram winner bots, and now they're starting to get smarter about replying specifically to people because
Yep,
it used to
yep.
just be like a one-off, and
Yeah,
now
yeah.
there's like five in one comment thread. And YouTube doesn't give me any better tools to manage that. I have to do
No,
this manually while
I
reporting every single one of them that comes in.
wanna there I got one this morning, and Chemi over on Twitter brought it up to my attention because I didn't even see it. It wasn't
Yeah.
even the U1 type of thing, but it was message me at Telegram, kind of like the
Mm-hmm.
message with the pointed finger kind of thing. It's almost like we should just block the finger thing, because
Yeah.
whoever responds back with the, you're the man.
That's not a bad idea. I used to do whenever I was feeling coy, I would do sort of like one of the smirking emojis with the two fingers touching.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna add that right now. I'm gonna just put the fingers
The
as
finger.
any
Yeah.
comment that has fingers in it is now just gonna get immediately sidelined. Well,
Oh.
hello. Hey everybody. Welcome to
Welcome
another
back.
podcast of two
I
old guys complaining about YouTube.
Yeah. Uh, how you doing? Back in the States, back in my home lab, on a different camera. I will say I'm using the same camera I used last week. I did bump up the resolution to 4K on the camera, but the feed should still be, and I'm hoping
That's
the feed is still at 1080 because I didn't
should
drop it.
still be 1080.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, no, we dropped.
Ha, you're 720.
Yeah.
TK is potato quality doodah
Okay, I'm a little bit
doodah.
better now. No, I dropped it to 480 last week, or 720 last week, because I was in a really bad um the hotel Wi-Fi in Barcelona was absolutely bonkers amazing. I was uploading 1.6 gig files in 30 seconds to YouTube. Like, I've
So
never
nice,
seen
right?
speeds like that. This is like seriously like the way you want it as a creator, to be able to basically say, "Hey, you know what? I can work till the last second and push upload, and I'm not going to have to worry
Yeah.
about it." That worked. The moment I went to Malaga, no, that all went south from there, because it was south of Barcelona,
Mhm.
and it was like super slow, fluctuating. On my phone, on the Pixel 7 Pro, it would drop and disappear. Like, I would lose Wi-Fi in the middle of the
Yeah.
call. I tried having a WebEx call. I jumped into a call because some of our friends in the US obviously were still working. They didn't take a vacation because most of the people were in Barcelona. And it was just, yeah, it was just horrible. And as I was telling Juan earlier, I rewatched the show, and it's
Hmm.
like it was quite a bit of a TK Frozen moment. Like, TK was really fan
No,
of Frozen the
so
movie at this
so
point.
here's the thing. I'm an
Yeah, yeah,
audio nerd.
yeah, yeah.
We're having a conversation. It's like a phone call, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't care if your video is getting a little stuttery because I think
Hmm.
it's so much. Isn't that so much worse? Like you're in the middle of a call or something. Oh, you're breaking up. Oh, we were
Yeah.
talking about, but oh,
You
oh,
derailed the
oh,
whole the
you
whole conversation, goes somewhere
your
else. Yeah, yeah.
your mainframes got hacked. Oh, and then you're like, I guess it doesn't matter that we were talking about something. All
I
right,
I totally
sure.
agree. No,
And
I'm with
and
you.
it's the bane of my existence on like family video calls too, where it's
Uh-huh.
like we tried to video call you while you were on LTE, and oh no, the video got a little oh, we can't. Like then why you could have just called me.
You
Like
could
you
have just
just
picked
made
up the
that a
call.
phone call.
Like, there's
That
there's a
that would
thing
have been
called
fine.
phone calls. They discovered it a few years ago.
Well, and
Um,
I love it too that they're like from some of my family members, it's always with the tone of an accusation.
yeah.
You're chopping up like I intended to
Like, you,
disrupt
yeah.
the signal
Oh,
quality
the,
of
the
this
worst thing ever is
call.
when the internet starts tweaking out at home here, and my
Mm-hmm.
son Omar calls me like as if I'm the internet guru or the internet provider. The internet's not working. What's going on? I'm like, hold on, let me pull up my book. Oh, today is definitely outage day. That's why you don't have internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. It's a it's a different. It was an interesting conversation. I will say, I am still in somewhat of a recovery mode.
Yeah, you got sick, didn't you?
From Yeah, well, not from. So it was weird. Okay, so I got back on Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, no problem.
Nice.
Tuesday, started going, Tuesday night, maybe Wednesday morning, started to go a little bit south. So I picked it up, and I think I picked it up from my son. The stress
Uh,
lowered my immune system, and that just kind of trumbled. And then whatever he had, I just picked it up right away, like, pass the ball kind of a thing. So he and I both are running with some, runny nose, just congestion a little bit. I was telling Juan before, I was like, I don't know, hopefully it's not that bad. So I have my napkins and I got my water. So I should be good for now. And
Nice.
we'll try to keep it PG. I'm just kidding. We'll try to keep it clean, and I'll mute anytime I know it's going to be a bad sneeze because I've been getting those a little bit. So it's like some of those you'll see me just get off frame or the camera just follow, where I am. Sorry.
You just move your head away from the microphone to breathe, a la Tay Day
Yeah.
of Tropic.
Otherwise, it's going to be really ASMR. If you really wanted to feel like how a cold feels, like yeah. But otherwise, I'm good. I'm good. I am, like I said, I'm using the same camera, the link, the
Hmm.
Insta
We already
360
got a
link.
question. Maz B, is it auto zooming? Or
Yes,
if you're auto zooming, so I
it
feel
it, it
like
auto
that's
frames to my face.
woo fancy.
So it does it has pretty good tracking. I'm surprised actually on how fast it tracks back and forth. And the camera is about maybe like 2.5 feet away from me. So about the same distance as the normal camera. I wanted to see how this would look. Obviously the A7S III will look way better. The colors would look better. I feel like I'm looking a little bit more pale than normal. Like this is more of a like the color palette is very off.
Yeah.
But Juan looks like he's all red and all of that good stuff going on with the different textures,
I'm all
blushing and all.
ruddy.
Yeah, he's
Woo.
blushing for the two of us.
It's great. I actually had to open up the window because we're
Did it
supposed
get
to get
hot for you
another
guys?
like cold rainy spell. No,
Oh yeah, the
it's
rain's supposed to
actually
start tonight.
it was really lovely today,
Yeah.
except I was running a whole bunch of gear, like
Ah.
two monster PCs, three laptops, a bunch of phones. The sun was hitting this wall in the late afternoon, and
Yeah.
it was easily 15 degrees hotter in the office than it
I would imagine.
was
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the
When you're
rest of the
running a
house.
lot of
So
stuff.
so when
Yeah.
you see this healthy flush
Yeah.
to my cheeks right now, I earned it. I,
Yeah.
I was gonna strip off the hoodie, but
The
I'm
hoodie.
kind of all gross and sweat stained underneath, I think. So let's
Well,
not do that.
I'll say this: we haven't perfected smell-o-vision yet, so at that point, I'll probably say
Ooh,
we're good. But
yeah.
yeah, I can imagine. So I didn't. Okay, so when you told me you're rebuilding an old PC, I didn't realize that it was
Yeah.
an actual PC. Like I thought, like it was maybe like a small.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm still trying to figure out how to fix my PC, which is
So
still
it's
down.
it's already early access on the Patreon. I have those different patron tiers. Like you chip in $1 and you get access to everything for a month. But for some of the higher tiers, I'll do like early access or special Q&As or stuff like that. Just nothing that I feel is content critical, but it's just a
Mhm.
nice gesture for people that are supporting at a higher tier. So it's already early access
Perfect.
on the Patreon. But my cute little Nook Extreme has
Hmm.
been wigging out bad,
Oh,
and it's falling apart. It fell apart fast. So
like
this is
actually fall
the
apart, like pieces,
whoa,
like the adhesive starting to fall off on
whoa,
certain.
this is what's left of it.
Oh wow, crap, man.
So
Okay.
I basically ripped out everything that wasn't a PCI board
Uh huh.
or a power supply,
Yeah, yeah.
and it like a little baby crab moving to a bigger shell.
Oh my god. Okay, so you're okay. Well, at least you're trying to upgrade it. Yeah.
So
Oh, look at that.
we're giving it the good run. Actually, after this podcast, Marie and I have kind of like a late night gaming date. We want to just
Good.
kind of mess around and see. Um, that little Nook has been such a champ as our. I mean, it was gross overkill. It
Yeah.
was a Nook 9 Extreme, ninth gen mobile part. So what was that? The
Uh,
9980, I think it was the
H.
laptop Core
Yeah, the H.
i9. Yeah,
Yeah, the Core i9
9980
H
is.
series.
And I threw a little 1660 Super in there very, very quickly.
Not
Like
bad.
a week ago, we're gaming. It's great. Everything's going fine. One day, it just clicks off. There's no like error code or blue screen of death. It is just hard shut off. And I've
And then
never seen that from the Nook before. And then immediately after that, it was if the system was running for more than like 5 minutes, it would just power off and it would
so
snap
thermals. Yeah.
off.
Okay. So
So
somehow the
I,
thermals
I
were.
I don't think it was. I actually
Oh.
think it was the power supply. I think the power supply was
Okay.
dying. So that box, this little Nook is super tight. So
Yeah. Of course.
ooh,
Yeah. Yeah. Everything is like
component
it's a
just
mini ATX
fell out of
configuration.
it. Oh no, it's smaller than mini ATX because the entire motherboard fits on a PCI card.
Oh wow.
So
Oh,
all of the
that's right. That's right.
compute
The Nook.
guts of a Nook
Mm-hmm.
fit on what would be smaller than most GPUs.
Yeah.
And that's everything. That's your CPU, your RAM, your storage, everything, your Wi-Fi card,
Okay.
antennas, all of your I/O,
Mm-hmm.
all of your USB ports, everything fits on one slightly chunky PCI card. Um, excuse me, sorry, I just got a mouthful of dust.
And I thought you were getting
So
what I have, but yeah, keep going.
I ripped out the PCI card and the GPU, and there aren't a lot of cases because there isn't these aren't standardized computer guts.
Mm-mm. No, no.
So this Nook experiment would have been really cool if Intel had continued with these Nook cards, because the whole promise of this was, hey, don't worry, for 10th gen and 11th gen, we'll make these extreme cards that can slot right in on
Mm-hmm.
the Nook cases that you already have. They started making with the 9th gen, and
Yeah.
then they stopped making those cards with the 9th gen.
Yeah.
So there was no upgrade potential. Any of the manufacturers that tried to make cases for that Nook Extreme basically got burned. Because the only reason to get one of those Nook Extreme third-party cases was to migrate your Nook build to another case, which
In case you
now
needed
this was
to. Yeah.
ninth gen. This is like 4 or almost 5 years ago, 4 years ago, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Now no one's working on those systems. All of those cases have been discontinued. I found one on eBay,
Okay.
so we're giving that a try. There's a helicopter flying right over my window right
I was
now.
about to ask, did you move the office to the airport? But okay, that explains it. Like they knew we were doing a podcast. They showed up. Hey, man, at least it's not the
And just,
lawnmower guy,
yeah, right. The
the
leaf
gardener.
blowers were
Yeah, the leaf
going
blower
crazy
guys.
during the podcast this Monday. So it's been a fun project because like our whole family has started kind of finding their flavors of PC gaming.
Okay.
For Lex, it's been brawlers. The
Okay.
little girl loves Shredder's Revenge. We're gonna try River City Ransom. We're gonna try
Mm-hmm.
Battletoads. Like this is the fun for her, and she's now kind of gotten used to gaming on the TV.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
Marie and I, it's always been like classic Tetris. We've started playing other games like It Takes Two.
Yeah,
She started playing a few rounds of Vampire Survivors, and
yeah.
then with everybody that's like kind of getting into PC gaming now, that's when the Nook is like, nope, can't handle it anymore.
Well, I
And
mean,
we've got to
there
do
there
a
are certain
rebuild.
there are certain limitations when you go with mobile parts, and especially when you're trying to microsize some of these things. Uh, Performance isn't exactly desktop PC, but yeah, you're right. I mean, at some point there's going to be a bottleneck issue.
Oh yeah.
But the fact that
I
it
mean,
decided to just
it's
shut off
high
that's a little.
performance laptop guts, and
Oh yeah,
I I I guess like I shouldn't be too surprised because there's almost no clearance for the two cards. So if you have a
yeah.
GPU next to the Nook card is pulling air off the back plate of the GPU,
Oh,
and
okay. So it's sucking up
there
hot air.
is yeah. So the intake fan is basically a centimeter
Yeah, yeah,
away
yeah.
from the back plate of the GPU. And then let me just hold this back up. I'm kind of ruining part of my video here. That's the only airflow off the piece off the power supply.
The P. So the PSU has the power. It pulls air from from the back and then pushes the air up.
No, no,
So
no.
where's the
There
other
is
air coming from?
only a passive vent. I don't even
And
think I can get this on camera. There's a passive vent. You can see
okay,
copper.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, like, if I could get the camera to sort of angle into the case, there are open vents, and you can see the copper pipes.
Uh-huh.
The only thing that is moving air through the PSU is this little exhaust fan, which is about the diameter of my thumb.
Yeah, and I'm assuming it's pulling the air from the bottom though, like most standard PSUs.
Uh,
Or is it through the copper through that copper open? Oh, that is not even big enough. Yeah. Ooh, wow.
So yeah, two finger holes by the passive open vents on the bottom of the case, but
That is not
all of
enough.
the cabling
Uh-huh.
goes right in front of the passive vents.
So
So it
you're
doesn't
getting
matter
so
if
it's
it's
that doesn't matter if
pulling
you. Yeah, you have a
pulling a
lot of
little air from the bottom because it's got to go through all of the cables that actually route,
yeah.
because they're
Yep,
not
yep.
even modular cables. They're all like fixed cables
Well, I
on the
mean, yeah,
PSU.
they were really challenged by the limit by the cramped
So what they
spacing.
were hoping, this is hilarious. This is insane design to make something this small. What they were hoping, they just ran I don't even think I can get it to focus on this. This is like a big old heat sink on the top of the PCB that manages the PCI cards, hopefully pulling some heat
Yeah.
out of the PSU, which then the top fans would hopefully suck out. But basically,
Okay.
you just get airflow in the top third of the case, and the whole bottom two-thirds become a giant soak,
So basically, yeah,
and they're
you're
just
basically
stewing.
you're cooking stuff inside. Yeah. Surprisingly, it lasted that long. So the question though is, you're saying upgrading it. So I'm assuming you're
Hmm.
going into that new body that you bought off of eBay, and you're just gonna fix, because you can't get another PSU, right? It's not a standard side PSU. The case is probably, they're probably I was gonna say melted together, but
Really,
like built together. The PSU is part of
it,
the
it
case.
is
It's not a,
it is impossible. I mean, it is totally possible to completely strip every part off of the case.
yeah.
It would be an inordinate challenge, and even for a decently powerful older Nook. I mean, because this
Hmm.
is this is a beefy little PC for what a Nook actually should be.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is
it's extreme.
not worth it. And I'm very not confident that I would get it all put back together. Um,
You're like, it's one of
it,
those, I disassembled it, but I have a few extra screws somehow.
even
Yeah.
just doing this, like having to get a few of like the USB cable that just manages your front ports.
Yeah.
Gutting that required me to remove a bracket and a clip by the Wi-Fi antennas, and I don't know that I can get that back in there without bending the plastic on the front
Hmm.
shell. And if I can really get one of my small jewelry screwdrivers in there, I'll probably snap it.
You man the bed
So
that, yeah, no, I
I
know.
don't
Yeah.
even if this new case, the new case is just getting field tested for real now.
Okay. Is
But
the new
some
case
early
just a
gaming
case, or
tests.
does it have some of the guts of another build?
No, 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 no. It can't. You
Oh,
can't use a standard case. You
no,
need
no, no.
something that is going to manage the Nook
Yeah.
card in a Nook style environment.
Okay. Okay.
The Nook is its own motherboard, but you've got to mount it into a special PCI slot.
Exactly. No, no, I know. What I meant to say is that the new case that you got for the entire system, I was
Hmm.
wondering if it came with any I'm assuming, was it basically gutted out from another system that was sold, or is it actually just the case? If you had to buy a brand new one, that's how it would come, like a brand new
So
case on its own with a
so
with a PSU.
that's what's so messed up. We are so used to PC building, we think of things like standard PC parts,
Yeah.
but Nooks don't have standard PC parts. So
Oh.
it is a Nook case made by Cooler Master
Oh,
that
okay,
only
okay,
works for Nooks
okay.
because you need this special PCB with two PCI slots that
Exactly.
can
Yeah.
manage power,
Uh-huh.
but that's not a motherboard.
No, no, the motherboard
So
itself is
so
the actual Nook. Yeah,
the
you're right.
motherboard is the PCI card that you slot into here. I mean, it's such a head trip. This is wholly
So
unique
the
design.
motherboard kind
So,
of works like how daughter boards used to work on the main build PCs, and
like
it's
back
running
in your
really
Apple
more.
II days, and you're
Yeah,
like, oh, let me get this
exactly. Yeah.
coprocessor. Except
You
that's
plug
the
it.
whole
Well,
computer.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I get. No,
So,
I wasn't. I for some reason, because I've used. So I guess my reference point was more of the Azul PCs that we've done, like
yeah,
the oh my god, I
yeah.
forget the name of the brand, but like they're basically their fan
Geekom.
Geekom and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The fanless PCs that are
Hmm.
typically a single board with everything mounted on it, kind of like almost like a glorified Raspberry Pi for to
So
a certain point.
if you go with like the sort of the more traditional Nook builds and like what I don't think I have a Geekom out right now. I put them all away. But if you were to just take the shell off of that
Yeah.
and put it on a PCI slot and then put a little intake fan on it,
Hmm.
that's what the Nook Extreme card is.
Okay.
And then you've got to mount it in a chassis. And so the Cooler Master case, the big upgrade is just
Hmm.
larger fans on the top and a traditional small form factor PSU. So instead
Oh,
of this
okay.
dinky little thumb fan, it's like a big
Well, like
it's a much larger
the
fan.
whole back will be the grill opening, basically, where it's able to run more air and
And
at
the
least
case
extend the
is
life of it. Yeah.
longer so that I can maybe get I think up to a 2080 Ti in that case. So
Okay.
where the Nook case had the mini cards, like I've
Uh
got
huh.
a 1660 Super, but it's one of the mini
Hmm.
1660s. I could go up to a standard sized 2080.
Like the GPU. It's funny. The GPU card is bigger than the actual PC. It's a
Oh,
sidecar.
the
Yeah,
1660 Super is bigger
bigger. Yeah,
than
yeah,
the
yeah.
whole
No, I know. I
PC.
know.
The 2080 Ti is going to dwarf it.
It's
It's going to be
comical. Yeah, yeah. When you
hilarious.
said 2080 Ti, because you didn't even say mini, I'm like, okay, crap. That thing is
Yeah.
like massive thing with a little PCB, well, not PCB, but like a main motherboard PCI card on the side. But it'll be interesting. Interesting to see how you bring that device that system back into life. I would say not back up, but like back to life. A little bit, yeah. You're at least more advancing in your endeavors than I am. I'm still trying to troubleshoot and figure out how to get my system to just to post. I can't even get it to turn on for a second.
And
All I
have
have
you
is a
gotten any
red light.
feedback? Have you gotten, I mean, like
MSI, not
warranties
MSI.
and stuff?
So Gigabyte's being the laziest. They're approaching this with the laziest approach ever. They're trying to blame everything but their motherboard, and I need to troubleshoot everything but their motherboard before
Yeah.
they will basically put in an RMA for me. So they want me to buy another CPU. They want me to buy another cooler. I've already troubleshooted the PSU. The PSU was not an issue. I'm getting power to the board. Obviously, there's a
Yeah.
red light. There is power, but it
Sure.
will not turn on. Like I cannot, like the fans don't boot up, nothing runs. The only thing that runs that connects everything to turn on the system is the motherboard. It's not the CPU,
Hmm.
but I took off the CPU because I have my AIO on it. So I took out the AIO and there was no leaking of, thermal paste or anything like that. I
For
took out the
sure.
CPU. There was no melting of anything. So it didn't seem like the CPU was damaged. So I put the CPU back. I put the thermal paste on, put the AIO. Um, and I basically just took it out on myself, and I bought another motherboard from Amazon. Not that I want to keep it, but they don't make my motherboard anymore. So I went with the
Yeah.
570S series. It's like the
Okay.
only version that's available, and I'm hopefully gonna get that maybe tomorrow or Saturday. I'm gonna put that in. If I can get the system to boot up, that's gonna be my call to say, hey, your motherboard is messed up.
Right.
And I'm honestly going to just start moving away from Gigabyte. This is my second motherboard issue or the second system I've had problems with.
Yeah.
Because you remember about a year or so, maybe 2 years ago, I had the same thing. I was out of a computer for
Yeah.
2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and it was basically the motherboard. So, but at least at that time, it was a BIOS issue, which I couldn't fix. And it was because I went with a cheaper. So I decided to go with a more expensive one. I hit up our buddy Terrence, the poet, over on Twitter,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's recommending MSI motherboard. So I'm thinking I'll probably just if I can get this thing up and running. Honestly, I'm gonna put this into Omar's system. Give him. It's going to be overkill for what he has, but I mean for what he needs, for gaming and stuff like that.
For sure.
And I'm going to use that as an excuse for maybe going up to the 7950X 3D system.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
jump up to the
for
next
all of
one.
this hassle, I feel treat yourself.
I mean the 3950X is actually still more than capable of dealing with everything I
Sure.
had. I just felt like he's still running on the 1800X, so he's
Hmm.
really old on like first gen Ryzen SoC, which is not an issue. It still runs perfectly for what he needs it. I
Sure.
mean, he's playing Minecraft and
We
what's it
also
called?
get stuck in these cycles because it's what happened with my last PC where I ended up with like it was a pretty good motherboard with a
Mhm.
decent Intel workstation grade CPU and 64 gigs of RAM, and you're like, I have nowhere to put this. I have nothing to do with this. So
Yeah,
like,
you can't upgrade because you're like, well, what do I do with the rest of this technically
yeah.
functioning system? Yeah, exactly.
So
So
I feel it's one of those things where you're going through the hassle, you're already mixing and matching some of these parts, they're making you jump through these hoops, and you might as well come out of this with something that also just kind of makes you feel good. And
yeah,
then you've got the benefit of it rolling over as an upgrade for your son's
absolutely.
system too. So
And the biggest thing for me is that the AM4 and AM5 are not upgradable to each other. So I can't. It's not like I can keep the
yeah.
motherboard and just jump into the 7 series. The 7950 is the new AM5 chipset, which is the new non-pin chipset that you just basically put on top.
Hmm.
So it will literally be the best that Omar can get on an AM4, and it will be overkill for many
For
years to
sure.
come.
You know what we should
And
do is see if his school has like a computer or robotics club, and maybe
ooh.
donating the older gear might
Yeah, yeah,
work.
yeah. But yeah, exactly. Because of I mean, the old board and CPU should be more than still functioning. Old CPU, board, and
Yeah.
RAM will end up basically being the ones I donate,
Literally, I
and
mean,
then
even if they just want to, if they want just want to use it as like a demo, like this is what is inside a computer.
and this is why Ryzen is better than Intel, and then insert
Watch
all
it.
the
Now we're
arguments
gonna
in
touch
there.
every part of this motherboard without a static strap.
Oh my god. Yeah. In my career with PC building, that actually happened to me one time where I fried
You shorted
not a
it?
motherboard, a hard drive. I shorted a hard drive,
Oh yeah,
and I
yeah.
saw it happening, which was the stupidest thing ever. It was a long time ago. I opened up the case and I was like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to touch anything. And I moved my finger close enough to the hard drive, and all I saw was bzz, system shut down.
Ah,
And I'm like, oh crap, tell me I didn't do it. I turned on the
oh
computer. Nope, wouldn't turn
no.
on. Took out the hard drive. But like, crap, I shorted the hard drive. Then it
Yeah.
was literally, I think it's the PCB portion of it, the drive. I think the discs were still
Yeah.
fine,
Oh,
but
that's
I
the
shorted out that
worst.
component. So yeah, never doing that again. Always with a
I
wear
mean,
the
we really
bracelet.
take for granted how robust these parts are now, because I'm ripping apart this
Yeah,
Nook case
and you're
and
like
I'm
grabbing like,
yanking
hey, look at
PCI
this.
cards
Yeah.
out, and like I didn't ground myself or anything like we
It's,
used
you
to
know what,
do.
Juan, because you yourself are grounded.
I am.
That's
I'm
the
very.
level of
I'm pretty much the most humble that I know.
absolutely. You're
So
just so
yeah.
right there on the ground.
That's why we got a couple comments here I do want to highlight. Gabaletta is saying, this is why Windows on ARM needs to get better. These Nooks would benefit greatly from ARM processors.
Mm-hmm.
After using the Surface Pro 9, where you've got a Windows machine, full desktop operating system that is
Yep.
ballparking roughly in the same tier, maybe a little bit ahead of like the most expensive Galaxy Tab S8. You know, like if we're gonna say premium tablet to premium tablet, I felt Windows on ARM was perfectly competitive against a similarly priced Android or
Sorry.
iPad. You
Yeah.
just sort of pick different pros and cons for, you know, like iPads I think are going to be better at like video creation, video rendering and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
then you don't have a full operating system. It's not a computer. What's a
Yeah.
computer? Um, I would I would kill for the Nook Extreme PCI card concept
Mm-hmm.
for ARM SoCs.
Yeah.
Because you look at a
This.
Mac Mini. A Mac
Yep.
Mini is the whole computer fits in the palm of your hand. All of
Exactly.
that extra case and fan and stuff is basically just empty shell at this point.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
computer is essentially what would be inside a tablet. I mean,
Yeah.
the Nook was exciting because we took laptop guts and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
put them into a small little case. Now we can take tablet guts and put them into a small little
Inside
case
of
with
that.
active
Exactly.
cooling. So I completely agree. If we could get even just like what some of the rumors are for like the next Snapdragon 8 series or what the
Mm-hmm.
next 8CX is supposed to
Oh,
bring.
like what they were trying to do with the whole Orion thing.
Oh,
They teased us with
well,
that, and
and
yeah,
supposedly this is on the path for some kind of announcement for late this year, hopefully for products early next year. And
at
it's
the
not
summit.
going to
Yeah.
be immediately as powerful as the Apple M2. And I kind of
No.
don't care.
I think it needs to start. I feel like it needs to start moving in the right direction for us to actually start getting the development and the improvements done and the
Yeah.
optimizations. Apple's had a few years heads up on it, and
And
I will
every
say
developer always gives Apple unlimited runway.
absolutely, and I think
Doesn't
that's the
matter
biggest.
if nothing works on a MacBook M1 when you launch it. Well, but the Apple do
Apple will
the
fix it later.
software and
You
the
know,
magic
Juan. Apple
applesauce.
always fixes it. Apple always knows what to do. And I'll say that the improvements of what they've done, and I'm not even on an M2. I'm on an M1. I picked up an
Yeah.
M1, not even because of the
Isn't
everybody
it
was jumping
great?
on it. Dude, it is
It's
freaking
so
amazing.
good.
It is. It makes okay. Let's just say this. It makes my i9 2080 Ti laptop here like run as if it's running on turtle speed.
Yeah.
I was rendering faster than anything. DaVinci flies through everything. No
Yeah.
stuttering, no issues. 4K 60 frame footage, everything the way I want it to be on a laptop. Um, and literally my best run was when I was going up to OnePlus in New York. I edited 5 videos in
Yeah.
on the plane, rendered
Yeah.
them on the plane, uploaded them when I got to the
So good.
hotel, and I was still on battery. One charge.
Yeah.
Like they've optimized so much. I mean, obviously the M1s are the 16 M1 is actually pretty hefty. The weight is pretty
Yeah.
much there, and I feel like it's mostly battery. It's not mostly hardware.
Oh, but
It's
yeah, but it has to be, and also, I mean, when you see those teardowns, I will give. I don't like a lot of the Pro design on the MacBooks right now, but the thing I do like is they have actually beefed up the internal cooling and heat piping. So again, it's like people have been making fun of the Razer, the Razer Edge
oh yeah,
gaming tablet, and you're like, well, I could just get a phone and it would be more powerful, and you're like, except that it's not.
yeah,
Your phone is going to outperform it in a short sprint for like 5 minutes of gaming. But the big advantage is active cooling, where you're going to have much better sustained rates. Unless you want to buy a Red Magic, it's the only phone that's gonna outpace it, and it's 3 times as expensive as the Razer Edge with the Kishi. No,
yeah.
twice as expensive as the Razer Edge with the Kishi. So the robustness of the MacBook Pro, it's not the chip. Apple is selling these artificial performance divisions by cooling. And
Yeah.
actually, one of the MacBook Airs, I think, has like this weird air gap.
Hmm.
So they purposely put space on the chassis so that the SoC couldn't cool itself as well. And if you crack the back of that case, I forget exactly what model of this is, but if you
Hmm.
crack the back of the case and put some thermal conducting material so it touches the back of the case again, you get like something ridiculous, like a 15% uplift in all of your
Uplift in
performance
performance.
metrics,
Because yeah,
all
you're right. You're
because
right.
Apple put empty space
Because
in
they
the
decide, yeah,
MacBook
they throttled it by design. That's
by
messed up.
design.
By
Exactly.
design. I will say though, I have not heard the fan on my MacBook, on my M1 Max yet, and
Mm-mm.
the like I seriously, like I turn it on and it runs, and not once did I hear the fan on my work PC is, or my work Mac is an i9, and old, the last of the
Mm-hmm.
generations of the Intel ones before they switched, and that one the fan is on like almost constantly. Like the thing is like a lift off every time I turn it on.
Yeah, I know.
um the improvements that we've seen there, honestly, without me, like when you and I had a chance to play with the Pro 9 5G model, the one from
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft and so on, and how well that
Yeah,
implementation was done. Literally the only thing that was holding us, like, that really the whole time I was waiting for DaVinci to say, oh yeah, we finally have improved, we're going to go ahead and
that's it.
start supporting it. Adobe, please insert, and
All
no, I
they
mean,
need to do, I mean, I'm saying all they need to do. This is actually a little bit of a technical challenge, and it costs developer time and money. And
absolutely,
we
and
know
there's
it's
not
not going to be
enough.
for a large customer base,
Exactly, and I think
but
that's where the challenge is. Yeah.
if they started supporting Adreno, because DaVinci installs and says that it can see the GPU,
Yeah, yeah, I
there is
remember.
some disconnect
Yeah.
where DaVinci Resolve won't actually tap the GPU when it tries to launch your interface. That's it. The rest of this should work even on the Surface Pro 9, which we know is going to be underpowered compared to like an iPad with an M1,
Oh,
but we could still do it. Like that, it would still
exactly.
be functional.
The purpose is to show that you could use DaVinci and run it on Windows on ARM. And I think, I'll say this: the packaging for the Pro 9 this year has been one of the best solutions I've seen before.
Yeah.
Because if you're not trying to do editing or rendering or anything to that effect, you're using it like a regular PC. There are very few things that it would basically come up in front of you that'll say, oh, I can't do this, you have to run this in a different format or try to find
Yeah.
another app. It ran almost everything, and that's what I really liked about it. I ran, like, I traveled with it multiple times. I used it as my
Mm-hmm.
PC to manage and to do a lot of my editorials and just normal day-to-day activity, editing docs, signing documents. The pen input was absolutely one of the best
Did did
implementations that
you
I've
did
seen.
you did you throw Ubuntu on there?
I didn't install Ubuntu, so I know we could have run Linux, and I think you ran Linux on it. For me, it was more I needed it to be consistent and not deal with any kind of
No, no, no,
like.
no, no. The Linux subsystem installs in Windows 11 just like the Android subsystem.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's already
So
enabled in the BIOS. You could
you don't have to boot, you don't have to, I mean, you don't have to dual boot, you don't have to mess with anything.
you just launch it.
Linux apps run so much better than legacy x86 software. So
because
you can do, I
because
was
they'll
doing it
run on
side by
anything.
side.
Yeah, yeah.
Launch GIMP. That is still the sort of basic Photoshop clone that I like to use.
Yeah.
My needs for creating thumbnails on YouTube are very basic.
Oh, GIMP
It
is
would
a
launch
pretty decent editor. Yeah, that's not bad for a
Linux
free one.
GIMP like 3 times faster than Windows
Windows
GIMP.
GIMP. Okay.
Like you're already having to emulate x86, but there's much better support in Linux for ARM SoCs.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
mean, Android is
it's
Linux,
based on
you
Linux. Yeah,
know?
exactly.
So
No, I know.
again, anytime someone would be like, "Oh, but you can't do things with real," I mean, like that. If you're saying stuff like that, that means you are not tech literate. That means you are a fan of a couple tech brands, but you don't actually pay attention to technology. And now
And
I'm
what you're
using
able to do.
Linux as like my barometer. Like, do you really know about gadgets? Have you heard of
Native
Linux?
Linux.
No? Then you're not really a tech enthusiast. And I hate to be that kind of gatekeeper, but it's just how it is.
I my hope essentially is with Orion is that we do get a
We need the performance
broader.
boost. We do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need the performance boost. We need also a broader support. Like Qualcomm and Adobe have been talking about basically supporting Windows on ARM or ARM processors
Yeah.
since the original inception of the ATX, originally with the Surface Pro X. And to this day, all we have is Photoshop, and I think that was it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we, and maybe Illustrator. I don't know. I don't even remember if Illustrator did come to it, but like the main core app that most people will want to
Mm-hmm.
use is, Premiere or even, Media Encoder or something like that. Those didn't
Yeah.
even make it to the show. But what I will say is this: I'm excited to see what your system kind of does, and
Me
overall,
too.
hopefully you're able to revive and get it up and running. I'm also hoping that maybe by the end of the weekend I'll have my system booted up again.
That'd
I
be nice, right? Now,
I no,
now,
I
so
miss using these monitors, dude. I have like 2
let,
massive giant monitors
but
here in the
but
office, and
but
I'm using a tiny little thing.
let me ask you because we've been
Sure.
talking about a bunch of different manufacturers and
Sorry.
stuff, and I have been very impressed and very excited by the literal silicon science that has
Yeah.
gone into Apple SoCs. I have zero interest in buying one. I'm excited because that will hopefully spur on the next phase that I've been interested in. And I want my flavor of that, not Apple's flavor of that. I want the Surface Pro 9 where I can upgrade the storage on an ARM SoC tablet, not
Exactly.
Apple's version where I buy a Mac Studio and you can't do anything to it reasonably.
Well,
Like
not only yeah,
that
and
pie
you're
is
stuck
baked.
with it, and you can't even upgrade it or use it as a separate monitor. No, no, I
So
agree.
so with all of this though, and I'm kind of leaning in this direction, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are now with what you're going through right now.
Yeah,
My Threadripper is doing fine, but I
good.
do run into projects like if I'm editing really heavy ProRes, I'm on a PC. If I'm editing really heavy H.265 compressed
Oh
files,
yeah,
it starts
yep.
to
The new
chug.
format, exactly.
And then also, man, I've run into some issues. Like I was doing that photo comparison with the Note 23 and those
Hmm.
200 megapixel files, and my graphics RAM is running out. Like DaVinci can't keep the rendering fed with only the 11 gigs of graphics RAM that I've got on this 2080. So I'm looking at all these different things. Sorry, this is a really long preamble.
It's
I'm
okay.
looking at all these different things. I'm definitely building another workstation grade PC,
Yeah.
but I don't know that I'm gonna build it. I think I might buy a system from a
Oh,
systems
a system builder.
a system builder,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that
Like a
way when we have the issues that we do with an individual component, instead of having to mess with Gigabyte over a motherboard, I can go to this other company and say, "Hey, it's not booting. I'm really good at this. I don't want to take the time to troubleshoot all this stuff.
kind of
What are we
drop it
gonna do,
off.
guys?"
Yeah. No, no. I know. I know what you mean. So I will say, okay. Let me give you a little bit of a history from my side because I have done that in the past. A few generations ago, I decided that, like, you know what? I'm not even going to bother building a PC. I'm just going to buy one from iBuyPower. And this is, by the way, no referencing, or I'm not trying to. It's not an endorsement
You're
or a negative
naming
comment.
names.
Yeah, I'm throwing names in there because it's the only time I've ever decided to do that, and I decided not to do that again. Um, the the challenge with something like that when you buy it from a builder is if their location to you isn't relatively close. Meaning, like for us, they're probably in Studio City. It's probably close to where our Newegg's offices are.
Yeah.
Most of them are based there, like Asus and MSI and all of that. Their main offices are there. But if you're not there and you have a problem with the system, that PC that got shipped to you costs a lot of money to ship because they're probably going to have
Yeah.
you send everything back, or you're going to have to drive it all the way there for about an hour and 10 minutes to do so. So just be kind of like aware of
That's
that
fair.
part.
Oh yeah.
Um, because all the headaches I'm dealing with MSI, not MSI, Gigabyte right now, I didn't have the same, which is the weird part. I didn't have the same issues last time I was having a problem with it. I called them up, I told them what happened. They're like, okay, let's just send it in RMA, blah, blah, blah. Everything was fine. This time, they were literally pushing back on every single piece. So, like, nope, make sure you take out the CPU, make sure you try to flash back the BIOS. I'm like, there was nothing going wrong with the system. It was running perfectly for months, and no BIOS update was pushed in anywhere. I came back from San Francisco, I think from the first night from San Francisco, one of the first times I went there for the content capture before Unpacked. I played Call of Duty. I went to sleep, woke up in the morning. It was done. It was just that's it. No more power.
Uh,
So I really don't know.
Anger.
Like it's such a weird thing. But I'm with you. The frustration of having to figure out what's going on always kills. And it's easier to just get somebody that has the right tools to test all the different areas, and they could probably they can
Well,
run a
and the
diagnostic much
thing is,
faster.
we do. It's just like I think about, like, let's say this system just crapped out on me today. I built this Threadripper. I lovingly chose every single component and piece and part, and it has had some weird squirrely moments over the course of its life.
Yeah.
This MSI motherboard has been great, except for one of my RAM slots was really wiggy with what RAM it liked. It was very
Mhm.
finicky, stuff like that. So to me, I kind of look at like how much effort I went through putting everything together
Troubleshooting
and
and figuring out what works.
troubleshooting
Yep.
some of those early teething pains. And I literally like could have driven down to City of Industry and just knocked on MSI's door and said, "Hey guys,
Can
can
you
we
fix
work
it?
this out?"
Yeah. No, I'm
Um,
with you. They
so
probably already,
so the
yeah.
drive down to City of Industry I used to do all the time, hosting at Newegg, and that
Makes
is like an almost 4 hour round trip. To
Depending on the time of day,
me,
yeah. If you go there like busy time, yeah, might as well for 4 hours at
that
least.
but to me that's 4 hours better spent than 2 days of troubleshooting.
Well, I actually kind of also gave up on it because I was just like, I'm not even going to be back enough time to try to troubleshoot.
Right.
Now that I'm somewhat stationary for the next few weeks, well, for some time, I don't have any plans. Um, I'm starting to kind of like heavily starting to decide, and I kind of like initially I was trying to go with the 7950X mostly because the price on that started to drop now by comparison to the 3D model that they
Hmm.
just released. And I realized that yeah, you do save some money, but then on the other end, it is not as power efficient as the 3D model, and it uses more
Yeah.
power, generating more heat. And I already have the 59, so the 5950X is already a hot chip, and I
Oh yeah.
know that in the summer that used to drive me crazy in the office. It generates a lot of heat and it requires a lot of fan power to cool it down. So I'd rather not. Let's say this: I'd rather spend the extra $150 and hopefully find a 7950X 3D somewhere, and then just go with that type of system, because the less expensive chip, although may perform a little bit better, it runs much hotter and it will cost me in the long run. So long story is, right now my main goal is to just boot up, get the system running, validate that the motherboard was the issue.
I feel
The
like
moment
that's a
I can,
very good for
yeah,
like main goal. Like I
as
feel like that
if
the
I can
main
get it
goal
to
is on
boot up
point.
and then I can prove that it is the motherboard, I can call MSI on Monday, MSI Gigabyte, get them like, look, I just bought another motherboard, I put in a motherboard, and the system fully runs and everything in there is running fine. Your motherboard is defective. I need to RMA. Get that RMA'd, get that motherboard, the new motherboard back in here, put that into Omar's system, and then just give him all the components. But in the meantime, I'm like seriously on the hunt for a 7950X 3D. So if anybody
Yeah.
hears it in the chat, anybody that sees one that's available in store, please let me know
Some a
online
deal
or anything
alert
like.
too. Like we'll try and hook up TK.
Yeah.
Michael Peppertech brings up like this might be a good solution for me.
Oh,
He
the
says, "Have you thought
NZST
about
build.
the NZXT build? They send you the parts, so you get to build it, but you get the RMA support of a system integrator." And I might look into that too,
That's actually not a bad deal. Yeah, I like that. I still enjoy putting the system together.
because
I like
I
knowing where
I
all the
I
wires are
do
going.
I do like, and kind of sort of altering and tweaking my own cable management, how I like all the components to set up and settle. That might not actually that might be a fine idea too. I'm
I'm
not.
thinking I
I'm
may
probably
switch to
not gonna go. Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, no. So I'm thinking of actually, I'm seriously thinking of switching away from an AIO and going more for like a Kraken or some kind of like a heatsink type of a solution
Okay.
to try to cool the system. I just I like AIOs. I mean, I don't mind them. It just and
Hmm.
they're running three extra fans at the top with a water cooling system running back and forth. Where if I can basically get the same cooling with a heatsink, which has run one fan, it's less noise for me. So just trying to figure out what
Yeah.
I can do. But I think I probably will end up needing to get a different case because I think my case won't. Because if I give the stuff to Omar, I would probably just end up keeping it in this case and then just switching over to another one for me. Because I still have my old case from my old 3900X system that I had.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, no, NZX I think sounds like a good option. I think
I'm
it'll
gonna
be
I'm gonna check that out too.
yeah.
I was running one of their Phantom cases for the longest time. I had three different computers that went through the same Phantom case. The last one, the GPU didn't fit. That's when I had the 1080 Ti, and
Oh,
I bored out part of the side because it was an aluminum side panel. It
side,
wasn't
yeah,
a
yeah.
glass side panel. So I bored that out to put like a massive 300 millimeter fan across the entire side, but it didn't fit in the case. So the fan was outside the
Outside the
case,
case,
but
yeah.
through, with all my little speed holes and stuff. That was a really ugly Franken build.
You're
And
reminding me
he
of some of
came
my
over
old
a couple
Franken. Yeah,
generations.
you jerry rigged the thing to make it work to get the airflow.
Oh, it
Um,
worked.
Yeah. Oh no, no, don't get me wrong. It'll work. It just it'll be like one of those things like you feel like the case like the computer has like a pull string to turn it on. Like,
Yeah,
like,
it was so
one of
gross.
those. Yes, for everybody
I
watching the show,
love it
TK
so
was making
much.
a pull string motor starting there. So yeah, or listening to the show, not watching. But yeah,
But yeah,
it's one
so
of those
that
challenges.
and Michael Pepper is saying like that could actually be kind of fun. Like if I go that route, do they really supply you with everything that you would need to know to build your system, like
I
all the
hope so.
instructions and stuff? So yeah, I might look into that seriously. I don't know. I just feel like me buying every single individual component, I feel like this workstation that I'm on right now is the last workstation I'm going to do that, but
Mhm.
I'm not really interested in going mainstream. Like I'm not interested in getting an Alienware
Yeah, yeah.
or one of those systems. I still want something where I have a bit of control over what components are selected and it's a bit more boutique,
Mhm.
to try and meet what I'm trying to do specifically.
No, I think you're right. I think that that's a good option to go. And honestly, with me, right now, when I looked at the cost of how much money would it cost me to put a new system entirely together, it was like closing up on to $2,000 just by parts because the
Mm-hmm.
CPU $700 by itself, and then the motherboard
Mm-hmm.
was another 400 or 500 bucks. I felt like let me just at least get myself back up and running, and then start looking at the pieces slowly and take my
Love
time as
that.
opposed to
Yeah.
have to be rushed. And I think that was my main thing. Like I can't keep the money can't just keep flowing. It's not like not a lot of money coming in to come out that way. So yeah, no, we'll have to see how that goes. I'm good. I'm good with that for now.
Or if I can just get my Nook like up to spec, like where I really want it, I'll just yank the 2080 out of my system, put it in that
Yeah.
Nook, and I'm good. And that's
No,
fine.
yeah.
I'll just edit and render on that. It'll be great.
Da Vinci will run perfectly fine on that one. Um, it is. Oh man, it's a lot of things going on. Sorry, I was just for some reason one of your text messages just popped up on my phone.
Awesome.
It's it's always great. You're
It
not
just works.
you're not texting me right now. I'm just kidding. Um, so some of the other things for me, at least, so within the last week, I know you've been, yeah, you've been putting videos on there. Actually, you had your stream on Monday, and then you did put out a video earlier, or like a couple of, no, it was
Hmm.
yesterday, right? The home
Well,
base, the 5G
yeah, so
connected.
that went public yesterday. It
Ah,
was also early access on the Patreon. I think it might have been up on Monday.
oh,
But
okay.
yeah, so we've been playing around with 5G fixed home wireless through
Yeah, I saw
Verizon.
you
So
tried the Verizon variant. See, I tried the T-Mobile variant not that long ago, and yours was so did you have good Verizon? Wait, hold on. Oh no, no, wait.
Not
You don't have
really.
good Verizon, sir. You're returning it.
Okay.
Come on. Yeah.
So this service, this is the Verizon 5G home wireless gateway. I never know exactly what to call it. It's Verizon 5G home broadband, but then it can also be called their fixed wireless broadband.
I
I don't
usually call
think
it
they have a
fixed
good
wireless
brand name
because
for it.
it is fixed.
Because what it is, it's a fixed
It's using
wireless, yeah,
wireless technology. It's using a wire like as if it's a phone,
for sure.
but it's fixed and it's air cooled and it looks cubey.
So this cements for me what I think are the most interesting aspects of the 5G upgrade, and they
Uh-huh.
have nothing to do with what we've been promised on phones and IoT and all of these other accessories and tablets and watches and all this mess. When you and I did that visit for Sprint and we were checking out Sprint
Oh
towers, the
man,
most
yes.
exciting upgrade was
Yep.
reducing network congestion and having more devices connected to a single tower. And
Exactly.
that to me was like, okay, even if you're just on LTE speeds, that's good. I mean, the network management improves and everybody's
Yeah,
experience
less
improves and
congestion
everybody,
and
that's
you
great.
elevate the people that need it to be at the 5G and you keep the people on LTE. It's better network. Yeah, you're right.
So we only have access to Verizon's absolute slowest sub 6 out here.
Yeah.
Like the only window we've got that is sort of facing in the direction of Verizon Tower. The speeds were good. I mean, I'm actually really glad that we did this test drive.
Hmm.
It's just not, I mean, for the prices that we'd have to pay, I hate that Spectrum is actually still a better deal. And Spectrum on cable is a little less susceptible to the ebb and flow of network traffic.
I was
So we
about to
live
say,
pretty
yeah.
close to a high school, and during drop off and pickup, our
Yeah,
streets
okay.
are packed, and
Yeah.
everyone's hitting those. Everyone is hitting those
Everybody's on
towers,
that.
and
Yeah,
and
all
you
the
can
kids, all the parents, and then Juan's trying to upload his video.
and you can see. I mean, it was
Yeah,
tangibly different how much slower our uploads and downloads were. And for me, of course, those uploads are critical.
of course.
This is such a good solution for people that, especially if you're lacking competition in your area for traditional broadband or if you're stuck on DSL, I really
Yeah.
can't say enough nice things about it. It is so much better than what I was expecting it would be. And we're in a poor area for this kind of coverage. Like, I can't get 5G on Verizon in my office on a phone. Um, I was getting reasonably good sub 6 5G speeds on this little base station,
Yeah.
with the caveat that the Wi-Fi router part of this isn't that great. So I would still recommend doing your own router so that you can put it exactly where you need it in your house, because the base station needs to be in the window facing the tower,
Yeah,
which
it
for
needs the
us
best signal. Yeah.
is the corner of the house farthest from the whole rest of the
By the way, it's the
house.
exact same situation for the T-Mobile side. The
Yeah,
hotspot, the
exactly.
itself, it needs the best signal. So they used to. I don't know if Verizon used to, but T-Mobile has this Wi-Fi extender, or not a Wi-Fi extender, like a cell surface extender into the home, because T-Mobile was notorious for having bad signal inside of buildings for the longest time. And what
Hmm.
they do was similar to what it is essentially is a receiver at the you put on the window, and then a piece you put in the central part of the house, and then that
Yeah.
broadcasts the LTE connectivity. I think both Verizon and T-Mobile would benefit from something like that with their bases
Oh,
because
totally.
yeah,
Completely.
the incorporation of both system into one unit isn't working the way they wanted it to be, and they would benefit more of having like an antenna sits on the window that grabs the
Yeah.
signal, sends it to the base station. The base station you put somewhere in center of your home, and that gets the best signal around. That's the implementation that you'll get the best
So,
reception from.
and there's nothing else on this. There are two LAN ports.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I
that's
think.
how we used it. Is I snaked an Ethernet cable all. I mean, it's still there.
Yeah,
I left the
yeah,
cable. I don't know that
you're
I'm
right.
going to go with another fixed wireless, but I snaked a cable all the way around to our router, which is in a sort of central location for the house. You're totally right. I the setup is so stinking easy.
Yeah,
I mean, like, it was minutes
you
to
turn. Yeah,
get
you
up and running
turn it on.
because
It's
it's just like
practically plug
setting
and
up
play.
hotspot on a
Yeah,
phone.
exactly. It literally is. It's like it's for the lack of a better description, it's a phone that's on hotspot all the time, and there's no cap on the hotspot connectivity. You're sharing whatever the connection
So
it's getting,
good.
it's shared. Yeah, but I'm glad you got a chance to try it out. I mean, I think it's
Yeah, it was
still
really cool.
a decent solution. Um,
I mean, again, I like, you've gotta go. the preface is you've got to understand your area.
I know
Like
exactly what options you have. Yeah,
I knew exactly what was going to be problematic about a 5G connection next to a high school. Like that's a no-brainer. There's
absolutely.
no way around that kind of tower physics with that kind
Yeah,
of
well, we
network
don't have a high
connectivity.
school next to us, but we had an elementary that was causing the same
Oh,
issue. Yeah,
exact
pick up
same.
and drop off in
Yeah.
the morning is just the worst. Yeah, because it was just heavy
You,
traffic. It's
you just don't even
in one
bother. You
spot.
don't try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they all hit
So
the same towers. So yeah,
if that's my choice though, and I'm in an area where I might have access, excuse me, I might have access to fixed wireless, or I've got to slum it with DSL. This thing
yeah,
kicked the crap out of DSL. At its absolute slowest connection in the peak of my day, middle of high school traffic, this was still pantsing
DSL.
DSL, like not even close.
It's
So
good.
the only thing I don't like is not knowing when I can rely on what my peak network traffic would be.
It's
And if that's not a
the
concern for
guaranteed
your
provide. Yeah,
needs,
yeah.
this is so cake. This is so easy to jump on and take for a test drive.
For me, the my challenge with it was even though it was much cheaper than the not the DSL, the internet connection that I have, for the business account that I have, because ended up setting up a business account line with Spectrum for my office line,
Hmm.
which gives me the 600 down and the 40 up, which gives us the much more reliable connection on my for my work.
Sure.
Um, but then when I decided to cancel the house internet and then just keep everything on mine, it actually worked out better for us because it's a little bit
Mm.
more, but it's if I just factor the fact that it's half for me, half for them, it's $60 a month for me on the internet here, and I'm paying 120, but then the whole house runs on it.
Yeah,
And then I picked up the Nest Wi-Fi Pro, the new generation that they put out, and that surprisingly has been working really nice.
that's
It's one of
good.
the easiest routers to set up. You plug in and you're like, okay, it's there.
Well, for a couple weeks, I was aggregating.
Okay.
So I loved that my router was combining both my Spectrum connection and
Uh,
this connection. That was nice. It was
Juan was
really
trying to
nice. I
I could
couldn't
download things.
justify paying for two whole separate broadband solutions, but for a couple weeks, it was great. I
Yeah.
liked it. So
It
that was
makes no.
fun.
You have at least you have an opportunity to try the two different options, and you get to basically figure out whichever works for you. And God forbid, Spectrum bill does end up becoming way too expensive. You do have another thing to fall back on. I mean, they
Yeah,
can't just hold you just for the fact that, like I said, there are pluses and minuses to everything, and
for sure.
Spectrum isn't the only thing. But you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
we need competition, and DSL
So
unfortunately is
that
just
one
not
is
up there.
really easy for me.
Yeah.
The download speeds on Spectrum are demonstrably faster, like another 100 megabits per second faster at our
Yeah.
peak.
Yeah.
But the sustained uploads are pretty similar.
Yeah. Hmm.
I want to say Spectrum was going to end up being about $10 more a month, and that's why we're kind of paying for all of the devices that are in our house and all of the TVs and game consoles and all that stuff. That's all down traffic. I'm the only one who's really pinning
Uploading.
the
Yeah.
upload, so that's okay. If Spectrum ever jacks with our prices, we'll flip to this in a heartbeat because now
Yeah.
we've used it, we know what it can do. We can take the hit on having multiple concurrent downstreams, and I'll have about the same upstream. And it did reasonably well with all of the rain that we had
Oh,
for a
that's
couple
right.
of the weeks there too. It
Oh,
wasn't great.
we're getting that
Definite.
tonight. We're gonna
Yeah,
get
we're
some more
getting
rain
more
tonight.
tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
It definitely dropped. It was not performing at its maximum performance, but it still handled that kind of hard rain here in Southern California, which we don't get that often.
I
Knock
it's
on wood.
hello there.
Um,
Yeah, that was the wrong thing.
I feel like this would be a totally reasonable way for me to stick it to Spectrum if there ever was a serious price hike.
Price hike. Yeah, no,
And I would
absolutely.
maybe also consider trying out the T-Mobile because T-Mobile sub 6 5G has been a lot stronger than Verizon's. We've got really good tower coverage here where I can get a good strong 5G signal in my office.
Yeah.
That could be better. That could be even
Oh,
better.
absolutely.
So
And for me, yeah, I mean, at home we were getting like 350 down and about 60, 80 up. It's good enough for what you actually. It's better than some of the packages that I think Spectrum has at that price point
oh
because it was
yeah.
like $55. The only challenge that I had with it was At the time, so just a little bit of a reference. That was a sponsored video that I did with T-Mobile, because their home base that they're using is powered by MediaTek, so that was a MediaTek type of
Right, right,
connection
right,
there.
right, right. Yeah.
Um, the only challenge that I had for it was the fact is when I ran multiple things, the internet, like you said, it wasn't I wasn't able to consistently rely on the speeds because it fluctuates based on bandwidth. So that
Yeah.
was my only limitation for it. But I feel like you're right. If you know when you're going to do some work, like right now, this would be perfect for it.
Yeah.
Very low amount of people. Most people are home. They're on their Wi-Fi. They're not on their mobile data. The bandwidth should be pretty clear. Or
I
early in
mean,
the morning.
people
Yeah,
are definitely like saturating all of those downloads and Netflix streams and stuff like that.
yeah.
We're the only two nerds putting stuff up on the internet.
We're making the movies, man. We're making the shows that you guys get to watch.
We're making it
Uh,
happen.
we're
It
making
could
it
have been
happen.
somebody.
It could have been.
Gotcha.
Oh my god! Did you get a chance to pick to watch, or when is the History of the World Part Two coming out? Is it out yet,
We
or
just
is it?
started it. Yeah.
Okay, so it started on
So
Hulu, right?
2 episodes are out. Yeah.
I think
It
so.
is
Hold on.
Mel Brooks, crass and loud, it's everything that you love
Yeah,
of it being sort of sort of blue and salty
yeah.
and often very gross, and very grotesque. So yeah, I mean it's kind of classic Mel Brooks in that regard. If you like that kind of absurdity,
Hmm.
in how they talk about social situations
Or history,
and
like
sort of
history
political.
events in
Well,
history that
yeah,
you were
a
like,
lot of that
That's
kind of
not how."
political commentary too is
Yeah,
super on the nose. Like the thing about Mel Brooks is like I like that he's clever, but the comedy has a very surface level accessibility to it.
yeah,
It's silly and it's madcap and it's zany, but it's just very easy and comfortable stuff to kind of guffaw at
yeah.
because it's often kind of dumb, funny
I
at the
mean,
same
but
time.
that's the
So
style. I mean,
that's
that's why
always
you
been Mel
like.
Brooks. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's why we like Blazing Saddles. That's why we like Spaceballs. I'm still waiting for
right.
episode two.
This to
The
me
Search for
feels
More Money.
a little bit more. Well, did you see
Mm.
the animated series?
I never
I
picked up
worked
on
with
the.
the cast of the I with the almost the whole cast of the animated series of Spaceballs.
Oh my god. Okay.
I,
No,
would-
I
I
didn't.
really feel like that show did not attain the again the madcap zaniness of Spaceballs. I don't know. Anyway,
You
it's
got me
fine.
googling it, my friend. Oh,
I mean,
Spaceballs,
if you
the
can,
anime series. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you should check it out. It is what it is. It's a product of its time.
yeah.
We were trying to make cartoons out of movies that and TV shows that should not have had
It's
cartoons made
cartoons. Yeah,
out
yeah.
of
No, I'm
them.
with you. I'm with you.
But this, I think History of the World History of the World Part Two, the TV show,
Yeah.
I think it leans a little bit more into the silliness and the loudness of like a Robin Hood Men in Tights, as
Okay.
opposed to the biting, ugly satire of a Blazing Saddles.
Okay.
Because Blazing Saddles
Yeah.
is hilarious, and it also gets kind of, I mean, for Mel Brooks, it gets
Yeah.
kind of dark funny.
Yeah.
Like, man, some of those jokes land for even when the movie was made, it's kind of unreal that he was able to get away with some of those jokes, let alone handling that movie in the climate of political discourse that we have today. So
Exactly.
History of the World Part 2 is not that daring,
No,
but
no.
it is still really funny.
It's the long-awaited part and it came back as a TV series. So if you haven't checked it out, it's one of the many, many series that you get to watch in episodes and not the whole series at a time.
Right?
Along the line, also Mandalorian chapter 3, season 3 started, and
Mm-hmm.
that actually looked pretty nice. I was I that one I decided I'm gonna watch weekly. I'm not gonna wait till it's done, because The Last of Us I don't
Yeah.
want to do. I don't want to watch the show. I want to wait till it's done, and I'll just gonna watch the whole thing because I feel
I
like
don't
it's.
know, man.
I don't. I just. Well, okay. I'll say this. I was out of town for most of last month. Most of February to
Sure.
me is a blur. I'm trying to
Yeah,
catch up to
true.
things. So, like, I want to catch up to shows. Hit. I think the Mel Brooks show is definitely one of the ones I want to watch. Also, Mandalorian is also typically a show I watch with my son, so it's not like something I could just sit there and do that by myself. And I feel like The
Gotcha.
Last of Us is more of a show that I could just sit there and just get
So
the whole season to it.
did you play the game?
No, I've never. So this is
Okay.
the thing. I've I played like similar like Dead by Daylight. I played Some of the other kind of like,
Not that similar.
well, what I meant to say is like the first person player type of
Right. No, no, no.
experiences,
But what
but
I mean is I believe the first Last of Us has occupied a certain conversation in gaming history because it is also so. I mean, like, I don't want to use a word like nihilistic, but
Mhm.
I really struggle with the idea of The Last of Us, where I'm not sure many people would really try to survive. Like, you
Okay,
get to certain points in like The Walking Dead and
yeah,
zombie movies and post-apocalyptic, like movies like The Road. I don't think
okay,
it's that bleak, but man, it gets bleak. And I really have appreciated that HBO is putting this out weekly, because a couple of these episodes I've needed time. Like, there's been no desire to go right on to the next episode. I
oh,
need
okay,
some space. I need to like stand up, get off the couch, walk around, breathe through my teeth for a little bit, pour a glass of water, kind of scratch my head. Do I want to
really,
go back to this world? I don't know. I don't know that I would even try to survive this world. I would probably just, like,
okay.
this is
So
dark and bleak, and what lessons are we learning here? I don't think we're really learning lessons because human life has no value. Awesome. That's
okay,
great.
okay. Well,
So
I
there
mean,
are still glowing moments. Like the third episode is really, really lovely, but I don't know that I'd sit there and try and binge it.
you
I
wouldn't
think
do that in
I'd
one
give it an
sitting.
episode, go take a walk, make yourself a sandwich, then give it another episode, maybe pop some popcorn, get up, walk away, see how far you want to
Go,
take
go,
it.
go. Maybe go ride a scooter for some reason. Come back
Sure.
an hour later.
You know
Yeah, yeah,
what?
no.
I think that would be the perfect, I'm okay, humanity is still surviving kind of activity, would
Yeah.
be finishing a really bleak, dark, dreary episode of The Last of Us, and then maybe tooling around on something like a Xiaomi Scooter 4 Ultra.
I
I feel
think
like that would
that would
be.
be.
I'm just spitballing. If I were to just
I
pick some random activity off the top of my head, I'm just
I
sort of
would, I would,
guessing here.
you would find me agreeing with you wholeheartedly, my
See,
friend. I
there
don't
you
think
go.
this would ever be an issue for
It's a
me on my side.
universal, and specifically the Xiaomi Scooter 4 Ultra,
Yeah,
obviously,
no,
is the
but
one that we would.
it's more so specific though to the fact that I go to MWC where I see that the Xiaomi 4 Pro scooter 4 Ultra was announced and launched,
Yeah.
and before I came back from said show, the scooter got delivered. And I
Aw,
see the
they like
packet,
you.
and I was like, I saw the packet. I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I want to go home. I want to go home. So I got in on Saturday night, and I unboxed the sucker. That moment, I was not going to
Heck
sleep. It was
yeah.
not one of the like I was exhausted. I was tired. What you saw.
Mm-hmm.
So when I watched the show, I was watching our show from last week, dude. I looked exhausted. Like it
You looked whooped,
seriously,
dude.
it was borderline like the dude was drinking on the show or something like that. Like this TK, it's 5:30 a.m. Why is TK
Man,
drinking?
he's spiking that coffee. All
It
right, let's
was
do this.
no. I remember I started the show. I said, if this is coffee, then this is going to be good. If it's not, we're having a short conversation. I didn't sleep after we talked. I tried. When we finished the live stream, I thought I was going to be able to catch some Z's. No, no can do. They gave us a little bit more time that morning because they changed the schedule a little bit, but I was still exhausted. But going back to the Xiaomi scooter, I've been lucky enough that I had an opportunity to play with their 4 Pro last year or late last year,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a really good scooter. Like
Sure.
from a comparison, I'll say this from a stepping stone because it's not like I have a massive collection of scooters. So basically, from the Okai that you and I got a chance to play with, which
Right.
I basically house it now. It goes to a much more comfortable ride. It goes into
Nice.
basically the Pro was really nice and definitely better suspension. The Ultra, man, the Ultra takes it to the next level, like so much better.
Like
Dual
you're
suspension.
riding Goku's cloud.
It seriously feels like you're riding a hoverboard. It's like it's that level of suspension. It's so comfortable. It is so nice. Um, the pickup on it, a couple of times, dude. I sit there and I hit the trigger on the acceleration, not
Oh, we're going.
realizing I wasn't. Yeah, it picks up. The front tire goes up, and then the back one. I'm like, wait a minute, what? That's not what I'm trying to do. Handles all the hills in my area like a champ. Power for miles to go.
What
It is
what
heavier.
what motor are they using in there? Do you know?
I'm not. It's a 730-watt motor. I think it was an upgrade.
Oh man,
It's a large, dude.
that's a big. That's like more than twice the the output of the Yokai,
Oh
isn't
my
it?
god, no, no, not only that, it makes the 4 Pro feel like, I mean, when I was trying to carry
It
them,
makes it
like
feel
just
pokey.
yeah, it's like, hey, look, it was like it's a cute little scooter.
Hey guys,
No,
I
no, no.
like to ride scooters too. I'm a
Yeah, yeah.
pro.
The when they advertised it, when I saw the thing announced, I was like, okay, so it's more power. I yeah, that's just more power.
Sure, sure, it's
We
great.
always say more power.
It
No,
was like a home
seriously.
improvement in Tim Allen.
No, no,
They
it's
start
seriously.
barking at the
Yeah,
screen.
yeah, yeah. It power. IP55, better tires, obviously
Nice.
tubeless, zero puncture tires, better suspension, and definitely heavier. The battery is definitely longer. You can go for a longer
Hmm.
range. Um, for me, it was just like, wow. Like seriously, wow. So I'm finishing up the video. I have I shot all I've been shooting B-roll the whole week, and I discovered today that I could do some really interesting cinematic footage. Remember that little camera we used when we were doing the when I came over to do the X3, the Insta
Yeah.
360? Dude, there are some interesting ways of using that camera, in getting it into, like, smaller parts, like, under I was doing a 360 spin of the scooter in some parts. I would get the camera under the scooter, flying in, like, in a position where you're able to see the scooter from the bottom, come out and go around and do a whole bunch of different things. So I'm really excited to put this video together. But I will say that for a scooter, this is the best. I don't think there I mean, at least in my opinion, from comfort, from power, from range, water resistance,
Hmm.
looks, this checks off all the boxes. The only
I,
thing I will say, it's heavy.
yeah.
You are not going to
Oh, it's
carry
gonna
this,
be
and
for
yeah,
sure.
you are
Yeah.
not going to be. I mean, even me, one-handed and walking around, like I can maybe take it up one flight of stairs without stopping. It's heavy, heavy. So the weight compensates for everything else that it does
But
there.
Xiaomi was my first serious scooter build. We did that one. Trisha and I did that
I
one
do
at
I remember
Newegg.
you guys were on like the
Yeah.
roof, and you did the whole rides and when they were still selling them in the US. Let's say that.
I know.
Because yeah, because the
Sucks
one I
so
got is not even a
much.
US build. It
Man,
has the European plug.
we got 1 year where Xiaomi was actually sending lifestyle products. They did, I think their laptop was sent to the United States. Like they got a limited
They brought
release
the laptop here? Oh wow.
for that one
For a
year. It was
year.
like
Yeah, yeah.
they weren't gonna really seriously play with phones, but they were gonna look at doing every other kind of like gadget lifestyle product that they did. And I think that's actually where we got some of those serious offshoots. Like I want to say one more was originally an audio brand that was under a sub company that was under Xiaomi,
I wouldn't be
and then that
surprised.
got kind of like got forked off into its own just proper company.
I've worked with
That time
many.
frame is when we got this kind of explosion of Xiaomi products, even if they weren't all labeled Xiaomi. But the
Mhm.
scooter came and it was sold on Newegg when we got to build it and we got to ride around on it. And that was the first time I was like, okay, there's something here. This is so much more fun than just like one of those rent it in the middle of a city partially charged scooters. This thing was actually really nice. It was really fun.
It was that time when you and Trish were doing that testing that I got interested in the scooter and in actually
Yeah.
looking into scooters, because to me, prior to that, I always felt like scooters were primarily meant for kids. Like they were small,
Yeah.
they got batteries in them, they're trying to get there, but
Sure.
then the it was also kind of like around the time where we're starting the explosion of scooters in general in the US. Like you can
Hmm.
actually rent like the Lime
Oh, they were
scooters or
all
the
over
Uber.
Santa
Yeah, yeah,
Monica.
yeah.
You
They were like
couldn't.
all over, like tilted on the floor kind of thing.
I know.
I, it was a horrible experience. But yeah, no, it's one of those. I'll say the experience going from the let's say this going from the Okai to the Scooter 4 Pro was a massive leap, but it was still very
Hmm.
comfortable. It felt very relatable. Okai's approach was a little bit different, obviously, with the NFC card and of course
Sure.
pairing to your device. It was a little bit more. I felt like a little bit more secure. I'll be honest with you. I feel
Yeah,
like with
it's nice having
Xiaomi,
that lock.
yeah,
Yeah.
that the ability of having to make sure that there is just no way somebody can actually because they take the Okai, they can basically pair it to another phone and activate it and run. It doesn't work that way. You have to
Nope.
disable it. Like Juan and I had to end up going back and
I
forth to try to figure
know.
out
I got
because I
you the
was like
scooter and
trying
I
to.
was like, oh
I'm like, I got the
no.
scooter, dude, but it just doesn't work. And then the folks over at but
Because
Xiaomi,
I thought I had cleared it out and I gave you the key card and I thought that
yeah,
would be enough, but that it was still tied to
tied
an
to the
account that I
account.
had already canceled, and I
Luckily,
felt
luckily, you
terrible
still
about that.
had you still had access to it to do to
Yeah.
unpair. But yeah, so the scooter is really nice. Hopefully I'm going to be pushing out the video sometime in the afternoon tomorrow because I need to still shoot the A-roll part. I've shot enough B-roll and I've been enjoying it for literally. I mean, it hasn't been a whole week, but every single day I've gone on at least 30 to 40 minute drive. It is
Hmm.
just nice. It
It's so
is,
fun.
and I feel like, oh my god, like we're getting better every year over year, and I think Xiaomi's been doing a really good job as far as pushing the limit. So I'm excited for that, and I'm also very grateful the fact that they they sent me the scooter without even telling me where it's coming. It was like I see FedEx showing up at the door with like a massive box, and I was like,
And
what
on the one
could
hand,
it
you're like,
be?
hey, cool. On the other hand, you're like, oh no.
I was like, honey, are you home? And so yeah, the box was so heavy. They put it in on the floor. They basically dragged it across the living room, and it just sat in the living room waiting for me to come home.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds
but
about
yeah,
right.
it
That's what
was
happened with the bike that I got. And it was like, that's 100 pounds.
they're
I
not
guess they're
light.
just gonna
No,
live there for a
it.
bit.
But I didn't think that the so when I saw all the points about it and all of that, I never thought that the weight would be that much different. It is substantial, like at least 3 times the weight of the Xiaomi Pro, the 4 Pro. Because I at the end when I was trying to do a comparison, I was like trying to carry both. I'm like, it's not even the same. It's like
Yeah,
almost like I can just do bench presses with this one, and the other one like I can barely lift. So like I want to see more security features built in.
hmm
And right now, the only thing you could
still my
do,
favorite thing about the yokai for sure.
yeah, the tap the card on that. So the only thing you could do right now with Xiaomi is that you can lock the scooter with the app. So once you lock it with the app, you couldn't turn it back on. So if somebody picks it up, tries to take
That's
it,
good.
they couldn't turn it back on. But you need to remember to turn on the app, connect over Bluetooth, and lock the scooter,
Yeah,
which is a step
a
like it
little less
depends on what.
convenient.
Yeah, and but I still feel like it. It's I still don't know. Like with even with the Okai, I never really left it anywhere. I always purposely left with it going somewhere, and I always came back with it somewhere. I never really like locked the
Yeah.
scooter or never tried to secure a scooter to something. Let's say
I
that.
did take it. I did take it to our little Trader Joe's, which
Hmm.
I'm not sure is a very good test of security because it's just a suburban Trader Joe's. Like
Yeah.
no one's really that interested in stealing your bicycle at this like sort of off the hillside Trader Joe's. But it was nice. It was that nice peace of mind of like, all right, I tapped the little card and it shut itself off, and no one can drive it until the card is tapped again, and that's enough for me to run into a
Trader
TJ's for
Joe's.
10 minutes and grab a couple groceries and stuff. So that kind of stuff is a nice peace of mind. The Bluetooth on the app that helps because so
Yeah.
many of these scooters I think are just like I don't know. I don't know what the. It's so easy, and I think the thing that's frustrating, especially like looking into bicycle culture here,
Hmm.
law enforcement doesn't care at all. There is no resource or there are no resources dedicated to recovering stolen bikes, stolen scooters.
Oh yeah.
Oh
The moment
well,
yeah.
and that's it. I mean, you can report the crime, and then LAPD's like, okay, that sucks for you, and no effort is made. Um, I don't understand why there hasn't been more of a push in electric bikes and electric scooters to do things like motor lockout.
Yeah.
So if you don't have like a security code or like a phone that's paired with it or something like that, it's kind of surprising to me that like we're a couple generations into this stuff and now we're starting to get some features that lock this stuff down.
And I think that's we need more. I feel like I said, Okai did it really well, and
Hmm.
they thought about it on the app side as well as on the secure side with the tap. Like you couldn't just accidentally stumble into turning it on or
Yeah.
using it. So hopefully we'll have to see. Maybe Xiaomi will put out some more updates where it does. If it loses Bluetooth pairing, you don't have access to the scooter. For me, honestly, with the exception of that, it's been just a dream. And I think of all like especially because of where I am, we have a lot of bumpy rides and hills and
Hmm.
areas. I can actually literally go for miles without ever actually getting on the road, just to be on those little paseos, which I really hope one of these days I want to get you to come out and check it
Yeah, I
out. We
got to
can go
come
for a
up
ride there.
for sure.
Um, and then, so yeah, long story extremely short. I'm trying to make it short, but uh, really nice surprise. Very nice, very robust ecosystem that Xiaomi has, and their scooter line is absolutely fantastic. The suspension for me was the biggest win because the number one thing that always gets me with the scooters is because of my knees, I can't be on them for too long because that whole bum 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 bum.
Yeah,
You
you're
come
just
back and you're like,
jostling.
oh my god, yeah. It was the same thing with those hoverboards that we back when they were popular. They're great for the first initial thing, but because you're stabilizing the whole time and you're locking your knees for so long, us, well, not us, myself, I just have, that's just something I have. My family,
Yeah.
we're not great with needs. So the Scooter 4 Ultra and the Pro were definitely nice. The Ultra is definitely much better than the Pro. It weighs as heavy as you think a scooter. I don't want to make it sound like it's a bad thing, but it's not like you're going to
No,
walk
but
around.
that is
If you need to
still, I
carry it,
mean,
you need to know. Yeah.
it's still the thing. Like, I tend to lean more towards liking a good e-bike because if something happens to the motor or if the battery dies, I still have a bicycle. It's a
Yeah.
heavy bicycle. You've been on that fat tire. That is a
Yeah.
very heavy bicycle, but it's still a bicycle. And I can still pedal and get places even if I have zero battery or the motor's dead or something happens to
It'll
it.
work like a regular
And
bike, if not. Yeah.
and that Okai wasn't tremendously heavy, but that is not the kind of scooter you want to try and kick drive up a hill,
No,
like
it
without
will
without a
not.
motor assist.
If you don't have a motor in the, yeah, you're yeah, it doesn't run. It's not like the wheels are unlocked. It still has a little bit of traction kind of going on with it because it's not meant for it. um so the Voyager was actually was it a Voyager, or was it the one that I rode? Was that a fat tire? Or I thought the one you're keeping is the fat tire, the other
My
one.
mic just clicked out. Yeah, I'm gonna be keeping the fat tire.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah, because I'm thinking like the
the
Voyager one is
Nomad,
the
the
oh the
Nomad
no
is the one that I'm gonna be keeping.
okay, yeah, because I was
The
like, I remember
Discover
that.
is the one that
Because the
is
Nomad was
the
substantially
the
harder
street
to
bike.
ride. I had a
Oh yeah.
very yeah, that was
Oh,
not a
it's
ride.
it's tough. And
It
also like it's big and it's heavy and
yeah,
then the motor is a lot more powerful, so you've got a big heavy thing that can go faster.
and you have to remember the down gear, that downshift. That was a mistake on my side.
And now that I've started getting a feel for it, I don't want to go to anything lighter. Like I really like it. But yeah, it is absolutely a very specific kind of ride, and it's just big, huge, fat, cushy tire is so comfy on all these roughed up
Yep.
old Agora suburb roads that, I mean, like there are parts of our neighborhoods, both of us individually, that we live in very different places, where like gravel paths, and that's what
Hmm.
cars drive on, and you're like, this would be miserable on a road bicycle tire, but you get a good cushy suspension on a scooter, or you get a big fat
Tire.
overinflated
Hmm.
balloon tire on a bike, and you're like, this is awesome, and I love it.
Yeah. No, and,
So
and I think that's one of the big benefits. It's because I remember, yeah, but it is also different, much harder to drive, or ride, not
yeah.
drive. It's not a car. Um, but yeah, no, man, it's that's primarily. I mean, literally, I'm done with all of my reels and shorts from MWC, from
Nice.
all the content that I got a chance to shoot
It
and
was good. It looked like some
re-record.
fun stuff for
I
real.
Yeah, I was like pushing one at a time because I wanted to like I didn't want to overcrowd it, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the jet lag's been serious, and I haven't been able to sleep. Like I had, like to just being that foggy morning and all of that. So anything to be able to push out content, but at least keep things, still exciting around MWC. I know MWC ended about a week ago. But like, the cooler that OnePlus put together, their
Mm-hmm.
tablet, their obviously the Concept One, running stable, just running models, generating images on a reference device in less than 15 seconds. That was kind of a nice little thing. But I was kind of like the crown of just stable diffusion, kind of just
Mm-hmm.
letting it be the last one. And tomorrow will be like a somewhat of a return to a regular video, as long as nothing goes wrong, or at
Yeah,
least as long as my congestion doesn't go worse. Let's say that.
Adam's in the chat too. He's saying, I mean, we're all just getting too old to do this jet setting constantly changing time zones kind of a thing.
And we were like, because so Adam was with me in New York right before MWC. Adam was with me in New York, and then I think I left ahead of him, but then he still had to go home, and then he had to go back. So there was that whole jet setting and
Mhm.
all of that. It's hard. It just
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
get
really
easier
hard.
because you don't get to go home and just relax, right? You don't get to go home and just sit. No, you go back home, and the moment you go home, regular life goes back to normal time. So you're adjusting to another time zone
Yeah.
that you never really left, but or never really adjusted to. But hopefully, by the time I'm done with this, whatever this cold is, and whatever, because my son also has a milder version of it. I think I picked it up from him. I was so stressed, and immune system was just not running at 100, and I think that's what it was.
Mhm.
I was fine all the way through MWC, Malaga, come back here 2 3 days later, and then now we're here.
And
Sniffles department.
he was like, and now we're here.
Yeah,
And
me and
I
napkins are
am
best friends. Oh
I'm
my god, it
evolving
is.
into a ball of snot.
I need to get some NyQuil or Dayquil and NyQuil, something to knock
You
off
need to knock
or to
yourself
dry up.
out so you can kind of get back on your sleep schedule. That's what I think your body's fighting right
I'm
now
still
is
waking up at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I
no,
go back.
that's
I
bad.
can fall asleep at regular time, but
That's
somehow,
incorrect.
yeah, at 2 a.m. I'm like, I'm up. Let's go.
I
And
I was
then,
feeling bad this week that like somehow I got off my normal schedule where I'm waking up more at like 6:30, and this week I was like, "Oh, I guess you're up at 5:45. All
oh man,
right.
and you know what the
Time to
worst
start
part?
the day."
Uh, it's Saturday. We're gonna get time change again.
Yeah.
Because why not? If
Why
it's all
not?
messed up, let's just mess up everything together.
Just kick a whole bunch of techies when they're down
Well,
already.
I personally have a harder time with the springtime than it is in the fall because not like we lose. You are essentially, yeah, like where you normally wake up at 6:30, you're waking up at 5:30.
Yeah.
Your body's like, wait a minute, what? Nah, you want me to wake
Oh,
up early?
this is incorrect. I
Yeah.
don't like this.
And I thought we had more traction last year where they were going to basically change the ruling on that and not have to, let us just all stay in daylight saving time, not have to shift back into
So I don't know if it passed. We
some.
had
So
a ballot initiative to
yeah,
consider the move
and I
to
signed and I said yes to that.
ending, and I voted for it. Yeah, I don't know if that ballot initiative passed in
We don't have
California,
farmers.
but
I don't think we have
but
this
even
farmer need.
if
But
even if
yeah.
it did pass, it wasn't we're going to get rid of daylight savings time. It was we're going to consider the impact study of
Oh my god.
examining
So
the end of
we
day.
were agreeing. So we were basically having agreeing to the meeting. So essentially, let's get
Yes,
together and talk about the meeting. Yeah. Okay.
we're engaged to be
For
engaged
the
to
love
be
of God.
engaged. Yeah.
So what this is my thing though. Who benefits from it? Like nobody benefits from it. The only
I
thing we
don't know.
have is everybody's going to have to deal with it for the first 3 days of the week next week because everybody's going to be miserable waking up an hour early.
I'm the angry sci-fi nerd. I want us to go to just a world 24-hour clock
Uh
instead of so just like it's 1 p.m. The entire planet is 1 p.m.,
It's 1
right?
p.m.
Let's stop pretending that like we live in this like heavily regimented only 1 hour of the slice of the planet is
Did
in operation at the
did
same
you know
time
that
as us.
in the UK they have a Greenwich line, Greenwich light
Meantime,
that goes in? Yeah, but they beam a light across the UK, so you know exactly where Greenwich time is. I saw that one
huh,
time we were going out when we were
did not
there
know
for
that.
the N2 flip from Oppo, and I was like, okay, so that's exactly zero.
There it is.
That's the
Okay.
reference point. I
I
know.
have arrived.
Yeah, yeah. And it surprisingly goes over the O2 Stadium in the. So if you're in London, if you're you'll see it over the O2. That's where I saw it because I've been to the UK many times and I've never seen that
Hmm.
light. And if you're
Right.
by like Tower Bridge or anything like that, you don't see it there, but further out, it's
Nice.
more visible. So yeah,
But I
little
also think we need
factoids.
to radically redesign our calendar too, because we could have just like perfect 30-day months.
Yeah, there's the whole 28 days of. Oh my god,
I mean,
I
there's
crammed
nothing
too much
about our
into 30.
time in our calendar that make any sense, and we
And
could make this better.
I
It's
think if
like
we
it's like
put our
that
noggins together.
hilarious to me. I always get kind of a chuckle when it gets reshared because it's been on a whole bunch of Reddit posts, but like every time the little meme image of someone on Twitter saying, "So when all the boomers are dead, do y'all want to finally switch to metric or nah?" Like, yes, I would like that.
Yeah, no, no, I know.
I already mostly think in metric. I might as well just go the whole
Just go
way.
full bore. Go full bore. Yeah. Why even bother with it? Just go. Let's just go all together in the same. It would be the world would be a slightly easier place to live if we had the ability.
Right.
Because you go to London and then they still use miles per hour. Although it's
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
yeah,
same
you're
thing in
like,
Canada too. Yeah,
yeah, but they're
but it's
really
not that
referencing
hard going like,
kilometers.
I don't know, I guess we're going 100 kilometers an hour. Okay.
And I'm like,
That's
yeah, that's
about where we are freeway speeds here in the United States. Like, even you don't have to do all of the exact math, but
yeah, it's
I
about
used to
60,
run a
60,
bunch of
60 miles.
5Ks.
Yeah.
I know
Oh,
about
exactly. Yeah.
how
Three
many
point
miles
three
a
point one
5K
miles.
is. Like, that's not tough. We could do this.
We
I'm
could
telling
totally.
people it's not
I
that
I
hard.
I think we could definitely do it. I think that the biggest thing would be probably for us to step
Here,
one.
here.
Let's fix the whole
I
time
want you to
daylight
go with
saving.
me on this. Okay.
Sure.
So, in the United States, I have so little faith in the educational system here in the United States. If we just switched all the cars to kilometers per hour and switched all the street signs to kilometers per
Per
hour,
hour.
I guarantee you we would see a significant drop in auto fatalities because
Because you
people
start
would
seeing
see
the
the
numbers
street
so
sign
high. Yeah,
at
they were like, "Oh my
60
god,
km and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm going 60 kms. That's kind of like miles per hour."
that's
But
like
they'd be
30
going way slower.
nowhere." It's like 35 something. Yeah, no, I know it.
Going through school zones at 25, but you just switch it to you don't switch it, you don't do the math on what miles per hour to kilometers per hour.
Just
You
switch
literally just
just
switch
change the
from miles
those
to kilometers,
kilometer.
and you switch the speedometer so it's kilometers per hour,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
most people wouldn't notice. Like, they'd still be driving. Oh, the car says I'm doing 60 kms. Okay, I'm doing real fast.
I'm going fast enough. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, like some people were like, "Man, I'm running 60 miles an hour, 60 kilometers
Whew.
an hour," and they're like, "Yeah, that's some
Well, there you
speeding right
go.
there. Yeah, yeah, slow
Hey,
down,
and then
slugger."
think about how excited they would be where like stretches of the freeway 120 kilometers per hour. I can go 120 kilometers per hour?
I
That's like
remember those.
light speed,
I remember
except
so.
minus like a couple million miles per hour. It's just like the speed of light.
I remember while like it was a while back when I first started driving and I got used to driving here in the US because I've driven in Lebanon and I've driven in the US. But in Lebanon obviously it's kilometers. So but I was here for a few years driving a car and I go back to Lebanon and like, I'm like, it says what? It's 120 kilometers an hour. Like, man, that is fast. Like when I was thinking in my mind
Right?
before getting in the car, driving on the freeway, and I was like, oh, it's the same thing.
See?
It's the same.
I'm
I felt
telling you,
I
it would
felt like
work.
in my
We
mind at the time, I'm
TK,
not gonna lie, I was like,
we could
I
save so many lives. We could reduce so many accidents.
that's true. No, no,
I'm
I
telling you, we could do this.
the perception of speed is what we need. That's essentially
But
it.
so many people, and like so many people drive these. Like, tell me you really feel the perception of speed in a Toyota Camry.
Nah.
Like that's like driving a Barca Lounger.
It's
You're
yeah,
not
it is. No, no.
feeling the speed
Dude,
in,
no,
in
no,
a
it's a
mid-size
Camry.
SUV.
Exactly. No, you're not. No, you're not. Not in an Explorer, not in a Camry, or no, not even in the. It's yeah. I mean, I miss my days with my Toyota Supra. I really miss my
Yeah.
Supra, and every time I talk to Adam, he still has his Supra, so it's like okay, yeah,
Oh,
he's
that
he.
jerk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a running gag between he and I. I mean, literally, we were running into each other more so than this year, more so than ever. Like seriously, every year I
Hmm.
went, Adam was there, and but we didn't get a chance to
Can't get
spend as
away
much
from
time
him.
in Barcelona. Oh man, I landed and man, I had on the Xiaomi 13 Pro, I started shooting some Dolby Vision video. So
Oh,
I
nice.
shot the Dolby Vision video, which looked beautiful on the phone, and it looks great on the Mac, but it wasn't. I I didn't. I didn't. I tried. I didn't do any color correction on it, and I didn't realize that it wasn't um, processing correctly till after
Yeah.
I did the video and I published it. And I was watching the video, and the clip looked
Yeah.
so blown out. And I ended up spending so many hours trying to troubleshoot the video, trying to figure out how to fix it, how to change it. And at
Yeah.
the end, I just gave up. But it was literally like wasted 3.5 hours because I was researching how to fix it. I haven't done a
Yeah.
Dolby Vision before. The X90 Pro that we got doesn't have Dolby Vision.
Nope.
So the 13 Pro was the first Dolby Vision video device that I've had to use. So for me, it was a learning experience, but it was definitely something that I need to spend more time. There are ways of
For
correcting
sure.
it that to grade it so that it actually
But
looked good.
I even had that issue with the HDR, the 10-bit HDR on the Pixel.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
I don't love getting into all of this other sort of color profile, color science, color grading stuff. I mean, I know like Danny Wingett has a whole bunch of videos about like, well, if you're Rec 709 versus BT 2020 and you can do this and you can
Yeah,
convert that,
and
and you're like,
essentially it is.
okay,
You need to set everything to Rec 709 just to get it
great.
to play
You know,
nice.
but that's just it, is that it doesn't still. I mean, what you're
It's not
describing,
100, yeah.
like the difference between like HDR10 versus Dolby Vision versus just 10-bit
10-bit.
HDR, whatever the Pixel shoots. I don't even know what exact profile that is. All of them play just that little bit different, and they all have their own unique compatibilities with monitors. So
Yep.
even when you can get what you think looks like the correct image up on your screen, it doesn't mean that's going to look anything similar on someone else's
And that's
display.
what threw me off. The display on the MacBook Pro is intended for basically Dolby Vision video. So when I looked at it on my
Yeah,
display, I edited
looks
the
awesome.
video. It looked perfectly fine.
It's great.
The only way to catch it is to, if you had a secondary display, you drag your entire profile app from one side to
Yeah.
the other, and you're like, oh my god.
Oh,
I don't know
that's
why
bad.
in my mind I thought about watching the video because I typically don't. Because I honestly wanted to see how the HDR, how the Dolby Vision was going to look like, and I looked it up. I'm like, oh my god! I took that video down real quick. So unfortunately, yeah, that day after the launch in Barcelona, I only put out the buds and the watch, and the Pro ended up taking me longer to put out together. So I ended up anyway. So it was a headache, and then from there it was just a downhill. And the show started, and it was just literally one thing after another. And then we left early. We didn't stay more than 2 days, so we left on the first. February is
Hmm.
short, so we left on the first in the morning. I went back for literally an hour. I went to the Motorola booth and I got to play with the riser, their rollable phone.
For sure.
And I was at my MWC experience was still very short. Although south of Spain, Malaga, absolutely heaven. Like it was just crazy good. And there's going to be more things coming up from that. I do want to say that um it was an amazing experience. And I did share some images. Some people were asking if this was from like some kind of a secret device or whatever. I'm like, no, it was just from the S23 Ultra or my Pixel. I was using
Right.
those devices to, it was a tour. And we had the N2 Flip, of course, and then the N2 and all of that stuff. So there'll be more to come, but it was still an amazing trip, and seeing all of the Islamic architecture in the
Yeah.
Alhambra was just fantastic. For me, it was like, oh my god! And I did take some Insta360 video that I should edit, and post some of that because I just geeked up. I just extended it and walked around.
Hmm.
I was like a guide tour. Follow me, the one with the camera. So that was
I
me.
mean,
And
it is the thing I miss from when I was really trying to dig in deep on 360 cameras, was just like, I'm gonna shoot this, and it doesn't matter what I'm shooting because I'm getting everything around me. So I can kind of make this whatever I want it to be after the fact.
the thing about it though with Insta360 though, what I really like about them. So this is a weird thing. Like for them, just buying the camera isn't the entire experience. You really need to follow them on socials because they provide so many tutorials on social on how to
Yeah,
do these
they
different
really do get in
perspective.
deep.
They do, and that so that little bit of a thing that I'm doing for the Xiaomi was I saw that on their Instagram feed where they would use it to run almost like those fancy videos you see in Instagram and TikTok where the guy just uses a phone and he's like doing speed run and back and
Yeah.
twisting and all of that. But because of the fact you have the boom, like when you saw it in our video, I was able to immediately look like it was a drone, although I was standing up there with like a massive boom walking around, like felt like it was gonna yank somebody at some point. Um, Long story short, I'm really finding new ways to enjoy the Insta360. As long as there's good lighting, it's a pretty decent experience camera. And their software is very intuitive, almost is too
Oh, for
simple and
sure.
too easy just to spit out videos and edit videos and set up the angles and the shots and all of that. So it's really nice. And I have a lot of my footage for for the Xiaomi 4 Pro, the Xiaomi 4 Ultra are from the Insta360 because it's the
Nice.
only way to shoot the tires while I'm riding.
That's right.
You know what I mean? To get those really close up, juicy footage of spinning tires, you go
Gotta
with the
have it.
X3. You got to have the
I mean,
X3.
like it's not as fun on a GoPro. It just isn't. I've
Uh,
got my little hero back here, and
your
it's
hero was
that's
actually really nice
fine.
though. The footage on that was super
It's
crisp,
good.
like
Yeah, I
really
mean,
crisp. Yeah.
again, this is hilarious. Like that GoPro pairs with like my Axon and my Sony
Uh huh.
for having 4K 120. And that's the reason why I like that GoPro is like now I've got like a trio of devices that are
Oh,
really
speaking of
handy
Sony,
for shooting slow motion
they just released their
4K.
Creator app.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I haven't had a
Yeah,
chance to mess
I,
with it,
I, I installed it.
but
I
a
didn't get a
lot
chance to
of
play with it. Yeah.
but some really interesting cloud collaboration tools, which kind of would have helped if I were more in the Sony ecosystem. I finished the shoot that I was on while you were in Barcelona, and like even just managing the files. Yeah, we can't see any of these clips. It's like, yeah, it's cloud storage. You've got to download them all. Oh, that's gonna take us like 3 days. Yeah, we shot ProRes,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I've I don't know if I have it on my desk still. Like, it's like this is a 500 gig SSD. This is almost full. I
Yeah,
could mail you this faster than you
it would be
can
faster than
download
you
these
downloading it
clips from the cloud.
at this rate. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, you did the right thing, dude. You did it right. You got if you go where you were, I wasn't getting paid for that trip that I went. I'll say that. It was not. I mean, even though Oppo did cover the expenses and so on, I wasn't getting paid for it. There was no physical money paid to me, but it was obviously compensated in travel and so on. But you did it right. You were able to put it into directly where it needs to be. So I'm glad that you had the photo shoot. I can't wait to see not the photo shoot, but the video shoot. Hopefully, we'll see something
Me
from it
too.
soon.
I mean, like again, it was pretty fun. I got to DP that shoot. I probably won't be editing it, so I'm kind of curious to see what they do with the footage. Like
I hope
this is
I
this
hope
is fun. I like having one job. I have one job. That's
you
it,
go.
and then I'm
Yeah,
good
yeah. As opposed to being the whole production crew as we usually are. No, I'm
for
with you.
sure.
I'm with you. But
Well, we should probably start bringing this plane in for a landing. You need to get some sleep, buddy. You need to
yeah,
like go to bed and like
I am. I'm.
take care of yourself
I'm
and get
rightfully
some.
congested on this side. I cannot breathe on that side. I'm very much a
Ah,
mouth breather right now.
that's so gross.
It is so
Let's
no,
get
not
let's
only
get
that, I
you
ran out of napkins about 5 minutes ago.
let's
So
get
my
you tucked
timing is
in.
very short before it's
We
just
we,
gonna get
we, we
ugly.
gotta we gotta bail. We gotta get out of this as efficiently as we can.
TK needs some napkins and I'm out of water. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's definitely not obviously the week after the MWC is not going to be as busy as the week as MWC. There's not as much, but I think the conversations are starting to kind of go into now the extended conversations of how things are. I still need to
Hmm.
wrap up my S23 Ultra video. I've been playing a little bit more with the Xiaomi 13 Lite. I think that one actually was a nice little surprise
That
of a
one looks
device.
really interesting to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that it had two front-facing flashes on it when I first looked at it. And so from an experience of like a light version of the 13, because the 13 is
Hmm.
and not to make it into a thing. So the way Xiaomi positioned the 13, the 13 Pro, and the 13 Lite, they're very different. They don't really relate specifically to each other other than to being a
They
Xiaomi
really don't.
device.
It's a
The
little
Lite,
bit more like uh, sort of a Galaxy S23 to a Note 23. Like
it's
they
a
feel
yeah,
like different phones,
they feel
not
like different phones,
yeah.
exactly. And when you go from a 13 Pro to a 13 Lite, 13, you notice first the massive difference in size. It's more of like it's like going to an S21 to an S21 Ultra, like jumping two steps, not just jumping one. And then you go with the Lite, which although it's more budget friendly, it's a bigger device, a bigger display than what the 13 has. Although not as stacked as the 13, obviously not the 8 Gen 2.
Yeah.
We're talking about the 7 Gen 1. So long story is that's what I'm kind of like trying to shoot for. The Xiaomi 4 Ultra, I feel like this is going to be one of my first one when I get that out. And then start. I also kind of need to put the Razer Edge. That's going to be one of my next things. So S23 Ultra and Razer Edge for next week. And then, of course, hopefully the Insta360 Link. I've been testing it out quite a bit. It's
Nice.
so far it's pretty decent. Actually, if you notice, like the video is not bad, although
It's pretty good.
it's not an S3 from A7S3. It's actually pretty decent
But it's
for
looking
4K.
good. Yeah.
Then it
So I'm the same. Tomorrow I've got a Moto Edge Plus showing up because I'm gonna send my brother-in-law the Verizon model, and
oh, nice. He uses
the
Verizon's.
unlocked T-Mobile compatible version was on sale for $450. I kind of went, okay, I still want a Moto Edge.
So
I'm
pick up
gonna
the
do
team.
that one. So that's showing up.
That's nice. No, no,
I'm
no,
gonna
no, no. Don't
I'm
get me
gonna
wrong.
kind of do
It's
a
the right thing to do.
long-term revisit of the dirty little secret is like I really have been using this as like a mobile computer, and it feels like when I have a Moto Edge and I have a Sony Xperia together, I almost kind of have an LG V60 again. So that's kind of the kind of I think I'm gonna put together just something talking about that. But publicly we're gonna be getting that PC build out.
Yep.
I've got a lot of like little sort of I'm gonna be doing a couple videos just on different camera sensors. I'm playing with the pros and cons of the 1 inch sensor. So I might make them two separate videos, why you want a 1 inch camera sensor, why you might not want a 1 inch camera sensor.
Makes sense.
So some things that I kind of want to play with there, a little bit more time with the Xiaomi 13. And then tomorrow morning, I'm going to be publishing that full like bar graph comparison, all the performance testing on the Note 23, the Xiaomi 13.
Hmm.
These new Geekbench scores are chapping my rear right now
I saw
because
your
Geekbench is
tweet about
still
the
broken
GPU. Yeah,
on
and I don't like
GPU
that we don't have
testing.
history. I don't like that we don't have history. This is really bugging the crap out of me.
So I'm not happy with Geekbench, and I'm seriously going to put this up on maybe like a poll on Patreon. I think I might just give up on Geekbench for any type of conversation on performance. It really doesn't make any sense to me what these new scores mean. What are we tracking? You, as a user, you
Hmm.
can't track. So if the argument is I use benchmarking applications to see if my phone is slowing down over time, you can't do that. So what is the value of Geekbench? It means nothing
Yeah,
to
it
this
lost its one
conversation
thing that we
anymore.
used to be able to reference, and I used to do the exact same thing.
Yeah,
Like when you get the device, you see it later on, and when you get a software update, did you actually gain performance, or are you actually slowing down? And then we've seen it in multiple
can't do that
devices.
now.
And the moment they went to Geekbench 6, it just all went out the door. And I didn't realize it went out the door because what happened is I did a whole bunch of tests thinking, oh,
Yeah,
it's
me
just
too.
sitting in the history. I can show the history in the
No
video.
history.
And in the middle of the video, I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it just adds
So
more wrinkles to the thing. Yeah,
so on that note, stay tuned
yeah,
because we'll have lots of other videos and podcasts or a
more
bunch of
cranky
streams that are going to be
conversations.
happening over the next week. And stay tuned for all of that coverage.
Yeah,
And then also just kind of pal around. We'll be around on the socials and
absolutely,
sharing photos and videos and shorts and reels and all that fun stuff too. So folks, thank you so much for tuning in, for
absolutely.
listening, for checking this all out, and we'll catch you back here next week for another installment of the best of our
The
week.
bizarre week.
I really feel we need to make a gaming themed episode. Maybe not next week, but coming up soon.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
just talk games again because I don't think we've done that in a while.
No, and I haven't been miserably humiliated with Tetris effects since the last time we even remotely talked about it. So with that being said, thank you everybody for hanging out with us on this beautiful Thursday evening. If you are in Southern California, stay tight. It's going to be wet for the next day or so, but otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. We'll see you guys early next week with Juan and myself as well, and next week and the best of our week on Thursday evening. Bye bye for now.